Hi, everybody. I can't believe it is day 10 of our Epic Spiritual Fitness Plan. I'm so incredibly excited that we have made it this far. I know I say that probably every single time, but anytime I get to check something off my to-do list, it gives me a very happy feeling inside. So thank you for being with me on this journey. I have personally found it so fulfilling to connect with you during this journey, and I hope that you've gotten something out of it also. So day 10, as the description here says in the video, I want to tell you a story that recently happened to me. A woman who I'm close with, who's amazing, and I love her, and I actually wrote about it in my blog, but I wasn't able to get into such detail. She's really wonderful, and I've known her for years. She's kind, and she's devoted, and she's smart, and she's funny, I'm someone who takes time to warm up to people. I don't use the word friend very frequently and liberally, despite Facebook's insistence that I do. But, you know, everyone's connected and everyone loves each other, but I would have labeled her someone who I felt really close to. And it took years for me to say that. So she went out with a group of women for a ladies' night out who I knew. I knew all of the women who were going. And they got to talking. And I guess somewhere between the dinner and the dessert, my name came up. And apparently the conversation that, you know, ended up happening was not very complimentary to me, and they were pretty much analyzing different critiques that they wanted to give me. So the reason I found out about this is, well, first of all, bad news always travels fast, let's face it, but I actually got an email from one woman who was at this ladies' night out, and I also got a phone call from another woman, because keep in mind, I was connected to these ladies to let me know that this had happened, and they don't know how it happened, but it happened, and they just wanted me to be aware about it. So I didn't really know how to react, but I immediately called this woman and I said, were you at this, you know, evening with everybody else? And she said, yes. And I was so in shock. I mean, I really was surprised by my own response. I was really hurt, and I burst into tears, and it was something like I was embarrassed about it. I felt like, what am I doing? Who cares? Like, let people do whatever they want. It's not, you know, when you're in a position sometimes in a leadership position, whether it be in an organization or a school or a synagogue, sometimes it happens that a person is going to get critiqued. It's just part of the hazards of the job. So, you know, I should have been kind of accustomed to this magnifying glass, you know, over me, but perhaps it was because she's someone who I felt really close to and safe with. I just didn't think she would be involved in this kind of conversation. And I was honest with her. I let her know. And afterwards, I reached out to all of the women who went out that night, and I did something that is, I don't know, it took a lot of courage for me. I don't know if this is something you would ever do, but I basically reached out to them all and I said, I heard what happened. I have no judgment. I'm not going to judge anything that happened, but I would like to get together and hear what you had to say. So every single woman, to their credit, said okay, which was not something that, you know, I could take lightly. That must have been extremely difficult for them, except for one. And that one woman said she would meet me one-on-one. She just didn't feel comfortable in a group setting. But everyone else said that they would do it. They also felt like, how did I know? There's like Big Brother watching me kind of feeling. But, you know, I explained to them afterwards how I found out. It wasn't that I'm such a prophet. Anyway, we went out, and at this group coffee, I guess, that we went out for, I said to my friend, do me a favor, when we have this conversation this evening, don't say anything. I just don't want you to talk at all, because I'm going to get emotional, and I don't want this night to be about my own emotions. And I basically said to these ladies, like, I'm here now. Why don't you tell me what's bothering you? And it was amazing, because it really taught me so much in the sense that they were dead quiet, and it really took a lot of my coaxing to get them to share with me what was going on. And finally they did. One by one, they shared. And to be honest with you, the critique that they gave, it wasn't harsh. It was kind of small things, maybe 4 small things that kind of was something that bothered individual people, and something that I could personally correct pretty easily with some maneuvering. But I went in thinking I'm not necessarily going to take what they say. It's just if it makes sense to me that it's something I need to change about myself, then I'll take it. But I'm not going to do it without thinking this through. So I had my own strong voice, but I was also open ears and receptive to hearing what they had to say. So we sat down and we talked, and I wrote it all down, and I processed it all, and I followed up with all of them. And I'm really proud to say that I've been working on all these things that they shared with me, and they notice, and they've told me that they notice that I've been working on those things and they appreciate it. But this woman, back to this woman. So this woman and I, I felt safe with her and I felt close with her, and she spoke about me. And even though I know she wasn't malicious, she's not a malicious person, but I just was really surprised that she did that she would participate and not come directly to me if something is bothering her. Because that's what friends do. You go directly to that person. She assured me that she never meant to hurt me, which of course I knew, but I just said to her, look, at this point, I just don't see how I'm supposed to feel safe. How do you operate when you're not feeling safe and trusting in a friendship? And to be honest, I was embarrassed. I just didn't really want to be in this position of feeling shocked that someone spoke about me. I was really mortified. So, anyway, long story short, I did some thinking over the next following weeks, and I knew that she was really upset about what I had said, that I was kind of creating a little bit of a protective barrier around myself and some boundaries. And I gave it some thought, and I guess one night, maybe in the middle of the night, at 2 o'clock in the morning, it really struck me with clarity that what I had effectively done was I had pushed someone who I care about away, and that someone who cared about me was also pushed away. So yes, she had done something that I don't think is right. I don't think a friend should do to another friend, but she did apologize for it, and I knew she felt badly for hurting me. And now the only thing that I was creating was a situation that I was being estranged from someone who I cared about and who cared about me. What was I protecting myself from? I was protecting myself from a blessing and a gift, and people mess up and it happens. And the next day I got together with her and I told her that, and I said, I'm sorry it took me, the number of weeks that it took me to say this to you, but I'm sorry that it took me this long, but I really treasure our friendship. I want you in my life, and you are special to me, and you're forgiven from my side as well. And she was really happy and relieved, and I felt really relieved, and a weight had lifted off of me. And it really made me think, imagine, I was trying to think of the perfect metaphor, and I don't know if I've done it, but imagine a pitcher and you fill it with a delicious drink. I don't know, sweet iced tea or whatever you think is good. And you fill it up and you fill it up and you fill it up. Those sweet things that you're filling it up with, those are the good relationships and the good interactions and the beautiful nature that you notice and the gratitude that you feel for your gifts and blessings in life. But then you also have negative feelings of disappointment and frustration and pain and suffering. And those things are true. Those things really happened. So you also are pouring into this pitcher murky, muddy, bitter water. And what happens is, if you fill up your pitcher enough with this murky, muddy, and bitter water, your tea is not going to taste so good anymore. Not to yourself. And if you're pouring cups to others, it's also not going to taste so good anymore. And I realized that when we don't forgive others, the person that we're most punishing is ourselves, because it's not that they deserve to be forgiven always. It's that we deserve to forgive them. We deserve to have a pitcher that is pure, delicious beverage on the inside. I'm sorry, I don't have a better analogy. But that was just, to me, something very astounding that I took from this. And then it goes for everything. Every time you get into a contentious discussion with somebody, every single time we're having anything with whether it be between yourself and your child, or yourself and your parent, or your siblings, or your friends, or anybody in your community, or anybody at all, even on Facebook groups, when people are hidden behind the screen and sometimes speak in a way that they would never dream of speaking in real life, we're filling up our pitchers, and we don't need to do that. We don't need to punish ourselves. Gary Vaynerchuk, he's a Russian immigrant and entrepreneur, and he's worth quite many millions of dollars and highly successful man. He talks about how Amazon recently bought Whole Foods, which I find fascinating. It's this idea, he says, of the new world consuming and eating up the old world. He says it happens every time. It's why you're going to see Google buying things and Yahoo buying things and social media like Facebook buying other social medias like Instagram. The new world eats the old world every single time. Think about the empires historically that have been at the top, and now we don't even hear about them anymore. They're just insignificant. Every single time, the one thing that we can count on is the new world eating the old world. Think about that in terms of ourselves. We're not the same person we were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. We weren't even the same person that we were from yesterday. Our new selves eat our old selves. You could have your pitcher full of the sweetest iced tea in the world because you've been listening to classes and you're inspired and you're energized. But as soon as you start dumping in the bitter stuff, suddenly you're a whole new self, and that new self just ate up its old self. So I guess the message of today, day 10 of our spiritual of our epic spiritual fitness plan is that we need to make the choices today that will create the version of our new selves that we want. Because that version, that new self, is going to consume the older self. So we, every single moment, need to be recreating the new self so that we can continue to fill up our cup, that we could fill up others in a way that is sweet and full of light. My end note is a really good piece of advice that I wish I would have received many years ago. It was actually inspired by my brother-in-law, Shimshon, who responded to my last video regarding the focus of peace, which I do believe in Elul. It's such an important thing to focus on, making peace with other people. And he said, you know, it's so true that we should be connecting with people and finding our common ground, and we are alike and we are similar. But what about the flip side of that? You know, it's a beautiful thing also to celebrate everyone's differences, because think about it. I mean, everyone's differences makes us unique and special, and we then have something to contribute that's different from the next person. You know, he's a doctor, so he was sort of secluded from the rest of the world to go to medical school, to go to residency, and then to move on to being a doctor. And now he's able to contribute in that way. And we need doctors in the world. So there's nothing wrong with differences. It's what makes a rainbow a rainbow. It's what makes an orchestra an orchestra. We need those things. And I think step one of peace is definitely to connect with each other and find a common ground. And then step two of peace is to embrace our differences. And that is something that as a new in-law, it is so important to think about, because this is a completely foreign family culture than the culture you have been raised in. It's, you know, maybe you were raised by one ethnicity and this is a totally different one, or maybe values-wise or religion-wise it's worlds apart, or maybe economically it's worlds apart. There could be 100 different reasons, just personalities are different. But if you're going to come from a place of judgment, like they're different from me and I'm different from them, and so there's nothing here for us. Or we can come from a place of, I respect you, you're different from me, and that's fine, and I respect you, and I don't need to say that your way of doing things is wrong, or that my way of doing things is wrong. We can be different. We can coexist peacefully and in a loving, healthy, positive relationship, and be different, and that's a beautiful thing. Okay, I hope everyone has a wonderful Sunday, and this concludes day 10 of our epic spiritual fitness plan. Please do check it out on the YouTube channel if you haven't yet seen them. I'll talk to you guys. Bye.